Okay, it looks like we are live. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon if you're on the East Coast like my guest, Laura. I am Jessica Perez-Beebe. You're here on my page, Coach My Mindset, or you're watching the live stream in High Performer Lifestyle or the replay on YouTube. However you're joining us today, please engage, connect in the comments, let us know that you're here, introduce yourself. We've got a really fun hot seat today with my very special guest. We were just talking before we got live about how awesome her name is. She's got,
Thank you.
she's got a name that is just like, you know, any actor would adopt.
Thank you.
Lara LaSala. So welcome, Lara. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm super excited.
This is going to be really fun. So recently inside of my private Facebook group, I said, hey, who wants to go live with me and just do some hot seat coaching, right? Like, let's talk about, what's on your heart, what's on your mind, what you might be struggling with around mindset, around productivity. I know Lara's not struggling with productivity. That's her sweet spot. We'll talk about what she does pretty soon, but mindset and managing, what's going on right now in the world and also in your life and in your career. I often work with entrepreneurs, really successful people like Lara, and you're already successful. You're crushing it in life. Most people I work with are also athletes. We'll talk about what Lara does as a really cool sport. But there's always that something, right, Lara? There's that little something that keeps us from going to the next level, right? And
Just
so
gotta reach up.
yeah, there's always something there. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I think it's a topic, I know it's a topic that many of you can relate to. And I'm all about giving you really practical tools to be able to use. And so we're going to get into those. I've got some ideas. But first, Lara, please tell us about yourself, what you do, in your personal life and your professional life.
Sure. Hi. So just super excited to be here to chat with you, Jessica. I've been following you for a while. So thank you. So I am a project manager to high performing women like yourself that work online, coaches and consultants who are at the point in their business where they're growing really fast, but their systems and their team maybe haven't quite caught up yet. So I help them with project management, team management, and systems management to really help them create consistent forward movement in their business with ease so that they can accelerate their business results.
Yeah, and you're really good at it. So I hired you personally, but I was a part of a team of other entrepreneurs, other really, powerful women. And you were a project manager on that team. And I'll tell you what, any of you out there who are watching, who runs a business, you're the visionary like I am. Having somebody like Lara is a lifesaver.
Yeah, it can be game changing in your business, really.
Absolutely. One of the things that I find that a lot of the entrepreneurs, especially if you're a new entrepreneur, struggle with is making that decision of, okay, hiring someone to do all of those things, right? Because in my programs, I coach about, going pro with your mindset, right? So pro in your sport, pro in your business. And that's a big pro step. It's when you stop trying to do everything in your business. And you bring
delegate
professionals. That's great
to have that integrator.
Have that integrator. Exactly. So tell us also what you do as your sport, because I think this is a lot about who you are. And when we get into the topic of what you said you're struggling with, we're going to poke a hole right in that.
All right.
Of this. So what's your sport? What do you do?
So I play roller derby. I've been playing roller derby for 2 years, not playing right now with everything that's going on, obviously, because it's a full contact sport, unfortunately. But yeah, I love it. And it actually has had a huge part in my mindset both revealing kind of those gaps that
Yeah.
I have, and also helping me really like strengthen my mindset.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anybody who plays roller derby is pretty badass, right? I mean, like, come on, it's full contact sport.
Yeah.
There's speed, there's skill. I mean,
Can be
I'm a
brutal.
little bit jealous. I grew up like roller skating and, you know, all of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And I know someone actually who does roller derby back in my home state of Delaware.
Oh,
So
really?
that's a big deal on the East Coast, right?
Cool.
So the reason that I think it's important to talk about this is because I infuse the athlete mindset and sports into everything that I do because it has been the game changer in my life, in my businesses, and all of that. And that's, you know, one of the reasons you said you were attracted to following me is also because of that athlete mindset. So you said something a minute ago. You said roller derby has helped you in your mindset. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, first of all, I had never played sports before. I'd never been an athlete. And I was attracted to roller derby because it's kind of on the outskirts, right? It's a little less mainstream. So, just going and trying out to do a sport for me was like a pretty big decision, you know?
What age was that?
This was 2 years ago. So I was 36 or 37.
I love this. I'm talking to so many people now who are getting into athletics in their adult years. And, you know, okay, so go ahead. I just think that's really important because people think that if you didn't play sports or you weren't physically fit and active as a teenager or in college, that it's too late. And it's absolutely not.
No, it's actually the best thing I've ever done for myself, physically, mentally, community, everything. So really how it helped my mindset was I kind of was like that person in school where everything really kind of came easy to me. I didn't have to like study that hard. I didn't, you know, like I could write. I was kind of like good at everything, you know. And roller derby was really kind of the first thing in my life, believe it or not, at 36 or 37, that was like, I went in and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be like an all-star, right? Like, you know, I don't have any athletic experience. Like things come easy to me, right? And it wasn't. I mean, it was really hard. And not just the physical aspect, but like that confrontation of like, wow, there's something I'm really not good at and it's not coming easy to me. And I really struggled with like, wow, do I keep showing up for this? Like it really was, it was painful, like mentally, right? Because it was like getting knocked down, falling down over and over and over again. And it's like, I really had to pull like a lot out of myself, physically and mentally to like keep getting back up and keep going back to practice.
Well, this is what I love about sports in general. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's that metaphor for life, getting knocked down and then getting back up. And like, fast forward to, okay, you've been doing it 2 years. So you had a choice. You could say, you know what, I'm just not cut out for it. I started too late. I should have known better. And just cut out on life. But what is the mindset that had you keep going? And then I want to tie that into what happens when we take specific actions. We're able to look back at the evidence that we've created that we can actually do it. And when we remind ourselves what we actually had to do, right? So take us to like where you are now and you look back at that, you know, sticking with it. What are the mindsets that you've been able to adopt along the way? What's the evidence you've created about yourself?
Yeah. Really, like perseverance, you know, like this is a challenge, but I can overcome it and I'm going to overcome it. And I'm going to overcome it in my own timeline, you know, like, there were people on my team that had been skating since they were kids, right? So they're obviously like, this was really more of a natural transition for them. For me, it wasn't. So I had to really stop focusing on what everyone else was doing and focus on what I was doing and the small little achievements that I had along the way, rather than looking like I mean, I had a goal in mind that I want to eventually be on the all-star team, right? But I knew I wasn't going to go from here to there right away. So like I had to take those small wins and like celebrate them. And every practice, I actually kept a diary that was like, these are 3 awesome things I did at practice. These were 3 things I want to work on for next time. And if I got feedback from people, I would actually like record that and write it down.
I gotta say this right here, take note. You take note of what Lara just said, because she's collecting data. Now, this is part of her personality, right? This is why it would be great at helping you systemize your business, because she's, after the game, actually recording what worked, what didn't, she's collecting data. So I talk about this all the time with my clients, right? Like so often we're trying to recreate the wheel, and it's like, look back at what data you have that had you get the result or had you not get the result, so that you're not doing the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah, expecting a different result.
That's right. The reason I started with the story of your roller derby is because when you filled out the application for hot seat, and anybody who's watching, if you want to be in the hot seat with me, please let me know in the comments, or send us a PM or email support@jessicaperezbeebe.com so we can get you set up for hot seat. So in the application, you said that the main thing that you struggle with is something called imposter syndrome. Okay. And I'm going to read to you guys a little bit of what imposter syndrome is. So it's like a psychological pattern, right? This comes from the encyclopedia definition, in which one doubts one's accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. You guys have heard, I know in the coaching industry, everybody has heard the phrase imposter syndrome. So the key here is, despite external evidence of your competence, imposter syndrome means that you incorrectly attribute your success to luck or a result of deceiving others, right? Like there's something in you that feels like, I don't deserve it, or you doubt that you actually are that good, right?
Yeah.
So, and here's the important thing: despite the external evidence, right? So this is why I started with the story of her experience in the world of roller derby. And I didn't know she just started 2 years ago as an adult. But right there is an example of external evidence that you can do something and create something from scratch, right? Just like you did with business, right? And I bet you can look at your business, Lara, and see that you did the same things in terms of, having to get back up again, looking at the data that worked and didn't work, because now you have a successful business. How long have you been in business for yourself?
5 years. This is my 5th year going into.
So were the first couple of years easy? Was it just overnight?
No, I got fired from my first client and I was like, I am not cut out for this. So no, it wasn't easy.
Okay, so what parallels when you got knocked down and were bruised and hurt and feeling like you weren't a great player and everybody else had more experience? What parallels in that scenario can you point out in your business?
Yeah, so
in those early years where you got fired from your first client, said, I'm not cut out for this, and here you are 5 years later.
Yeah, I think for me, it's that, like, if I have a challenge and I don't overcome it, like, I'll have that regret, you know what I mean? And that kind of like, I let myself down and I gave up, and I didn't see it through to the potential that I know that I have inside of me. So, it's easier to give up and walk away, right? It's easier to do that. But I knew that there was like that drive inside of me that I had the potential. I wasn't fulfilling that.
Well, and I know that you're motivated by growth because you took the secret motivator assessment, and I'll
Yeah.
put a link here for you guys to take. Anybody who's motivated by growth is never going to feel that joy, that satisfaction, if you stop, right? If you don't continue to improve in something, right? You're wanting to improve in something, whether it's your business, whether it's your sport. It's that personal growth, it's the professional growth, the spiritual growth. You're always going to feel that innate pull to grow. So what you said earlier about, the first year or two was hard in my business, but I kept going. I often see people, and if you're watching this and like you can feel the hard truth that this is there's a light at the end of the tunnel if you follow what formula we're talking about right now. But I often see people who give up right away, or give up 1 year in or 2 years in, and they think they've put in all that there is to put in growing a business or in doing this next new thing that they're doing. And what you're demonstrating is it actually takes time. It takes collecting the data, going back to the drawing board and picking yourself up each time. And here's what we talk about all the time in my High Performers Club. It's let's create evidence, right?
Yeah.
Let's create new evidence. Let's create new evidence. So if you just quit, then you've just created evidence that you quit when things get difficult.
Yeah.
What happens is your brain starts to believe that, because you're giving your brain data. That's how your mindset gets developed.
Yeah.
Right. So if you quit when it gets hard, if you quit after a year or two of trying, if you, if you fall down and you get hurt and you quit, you're creating evidence that you quit when things are tough. And it becomes so easy to do it the next time. So in order to strengthen that mindset muscle and to create what I say, like make the hard shit easy, because guess what? It's going to be hard when you're building a business. It's going to be hard when you're growing to the next level in your business. It's going to be hard in your sport. It's going to be hard in your marriage, like in everything. As a parent, it's going to be hard in life, right?
Yeah.
And that's why athletics is such a great metaphor for it. But the hard shit can become easy when you go through the hard stuff and then you say, oh, okay, I just collected evidence that I can do that. I know I can do it again.
That's so true, because I quite often when I'm up against a challenge in my business, or I've made a mistake, or, something didn't come out the way I wanted it to come out, I do mentally connect that to roller derby. And I'll say to myself, like, if I can get out there on that track with girls that are like 3 times the size of me and have like the courage to like run into that at first, like I can do this. I say that to myself all the time.
That's so true. And it's also why like linking arms with other people who are driven and motivated by growth, who want to do better, people who won't let you sell out on yourself, right? Like when you think of the roller derby girls, like you just said, and you're like, man, those girls are strong, they're hardcore, and they make you work harder. They make you fight for it, but they also probably are the first ones who have your back, pick you up when you fall. And that is often what's missing for people who are really driven and want more, desire more. Typically what's missing is in their lives, in their personal lives, they are the most driven.
Yeah.
Right? They're
very
the most driven, right? Think about you in your personal life. So unless you create that community, like I've done with my bodybuilding community, and in my business with my peers and my coaches and all of that, and like you're doing, unless you create that community of other people who can remind you you're not an imposter, right? And are not going to let you quit, sell out, and are going to set the bar high enough that you're at least constantly reaching, then by yourself, you end up quitting. By yourself, you start to collect more evidence that you are an imposter. Because if you're not around other people who are as driven or more driven than you, and that takes a lot of guts to be around those people, because it's easy to be
can
the
be scary,
star.
it can be intimidating.
It can be intimidating. But if you're not around those people, you end up falling short of everything that you know you're capable of. And that feels like crap, right? So what is the biggest piece of, or what's the, when you say you're dealing with imposter syndrome, I just want to start with that, and then we're going to easily poke a hole, and I'm going to give you a tool to use. In what area of your life specifically are you feeling like that holds you back?
Business, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
How so?
Like, I definitely want to put myself out there more, and not even necessarily just to grow my business. Like, I'm a connector. I love to connect with people, and I also love to teach. So that really, my fear, around like being an imposter, like really holds me back from sharing all of the information and the knowledge that I've gained over the past 5 years in my business that can really help someone else.
For people who are watching live right now and then watching the replay, give us a really tangible example for people who are like, I think I get what imposter syndrome means, but I don't know, so that they can recognize if they are doing that, if that's holding them back. So as it relates to that, like putting yourself out, like, can you give us an example of where you stopped or were
Well,
afraid?
for me, it's like in what I call myself. Like I shrink around calling myself an expert, even though I feel pretty confidently a lot of my clients would call me an expert in certain things. But to me, to claim that for myself feels like it's untrue.
Yeah, this reminds me of my client, Jill. I don't know if she's watching right now, and I don't think she'll mind, but she's been in the health industry for, gosh, it must be 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Successful brick and mortar business, started an online business a couple of years ago. And at our mastermind, the huge breakthrough that she had, now she has worked directly one-on-one with hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of people, been doing it for 25 years, knows everything in and out. And the breakthrough for her was that she's an expert in the field.
Yeah.
This is where imposter syndrome like just takes over your life.
Yeah.
Right? Because how can you think about it? Somebody who's watching is like, wow, how can you be doing something for 25 years? Have clients who pay you, have a successful business, and you still have trouble calling yourself an expert.
Yeah.
So does that seem ridiculous?
Yeah, when you're saying 25 years, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got more experience than half my life, right?
But guess what? That would be you 20 years from now if you don't poke the hole in it now.
Right.
Right? Because it's our thoughts just start to be autoplay. It's something I call a tricky triad, right? It's like whatever we're giving attention to. So if you're constantly the majority of the time giving attention to the thought that, oh, I'm not really an expert, or, I don't, what happens is it becomes your belief.
Yeah.
Right. Just automatically, without you even trying to believe that, it gets ingrained in your body. And then from that, you generate your feelings of inferiority, insecurity, and then our feelings dictate our actions. So if you're feeling inferior, if you're feeling insecure because of the belief you've just developed, then your actions reflect that, meaning your lack of actions too. Right. Yeah. So like not
that's what it is for me.
Is that land for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so those of you who are watching, if you can relate to this, let us know. Yeah, a lot of people are saying yes. Feeling like I don't know it all, the perfectionist in me. Dealing and
all that.
All that. Well, listen, I am training right now with Tim Grover, who wrote the book Relentless, coached, was personal trainer to Jordan for 15 years, Kobe Bryant. So I'm actually training with him right now in a program all around mindset and leveling up and all of that. And he said something on Tuesday on our coaching call to one of the other members that I thought was so stinking like spot on. He said, stop sinking your own damn battleship. Like, stop sinking. He said, there are enough people out there who are already trying to do it for you without your help, right? Without your help. So it's like, we're literally shooting our own, poking holes in our ship. We're helping. Now, of course, he's talking about this in terms of, athletics and competition, but also for business. And so, but you would relate to this. It's like, you're out there on the roller derby ring. Like, what would be an example of you, like, taking yourself down, right? Like, sinking.
Well, I've done that. I've done that. I had a game where I wasn't making points, and I'm a jammer, and that's my whole goal is to make points. And it's like, I broke down, like I started crying, and I had to sit on the bench and take myself out of the game because I got so in my head that I was thinking, like, my team members, every time I go out, they're like, oh, great, Lara's out here. She's not going to.
That's what you were thinking, right? There's imposter syndrome. You think it's only showing up in your business. That's an example of it showing up in your sport.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that he talks a lot about in this training. And he says, that's the one thing that made, and in his book, he has 3 categories. If you haven't read this book, get it. It's called Relentless. There's a category of the cooler, the closer, and the cleaner, right? So your top athletes, your top entrepreneurs, your most successful people, the people who are at the top in everything that they do or anything that they do are cleaners. They get the job done, right? So what he was saying is, a lot of times people say, what are the traits of a winner? And, people will say relentless, confident, positive. Well, he says, listen, I've worked with these guys. The traits that you're not pinpointing are unapologetic, raw, dirty, and listen, he doesn't mean like you treat people that way, but it's like you're unapologetic about who you are. And he said, do you think that Jordan was worried about what people thought about him? Right? Think about that. Like, and what you said, like, they're thinking, my teammates are saying, oh no, here she comes. Right. Yeah. And so it's developing, it's like becoming your own biggest cheerleader.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I was doing some research on imposter syndrome, which sex do you think suffers from that mainly?
Women.
Yeah. Women. It's not to say that men don't, but women. Yeah. Meanwhile, we've created all this evidence that we're pretty badass, that you're an expert in your field, right? And so here's the tool I want to give you, because I know that anybody who's watching right now is like probably thinking, wow, she's got imposter syndrome because, you're a successful businesswoman. You are out there playing a hardcore sport, and everything that it takes to go with that. And so that's what people don't get. It's not people who are not accomplishing things and who are just sitting back slouching who have imposter syndrome. It's those of you who are successful, who are doing great things, but somewhere in here, and we don't have enough time to go through it on this call, but my clients know that we go through this really deeply in the mindset work that I do. But somewhere in the past, we've created these beliefs or we've adopted them from other people, whatever it is, and Tony Robbins teaches that we go to our feelings, right? Yeah. It's the thought that happens first, and then we feel a certain way about that thought. So this is what we were talking about earlier. Yeah. So here's what we need to do, though. I'm going to give you a tool, and those of you who are watching, you can use it as well. So everything is about creating evidence. And then like you were doing when you were reading the journal or writing your journal down, right? That's your evidence. So in the moment, though, we need a quick response plan, right? Yeah. In the moment, like, so in a moment when you're about to be in tears, out in the rink, or where it's holding you back from maybe presenting your work to someone, or that type of thing, you want to have a quick response plan. And those of you who've worked with me before who are watching this, you've heard me and you use it all the time. And I call it the 2-for-1 rule. 2-for-1. Now you're very probably analytical, so this will work well for you. So in the moment, because we've got to retrain our brain. That's all. So much stuff is just on autopilot. So think about life. We just kind of go through it on autopilot. You have things that you're used to doing. You just kind of go through the motions. Sure. And when something like when a thought pops into your head that starts to take you down the loophole or the rabbit hole or whatever, if you don't have a plan to interrupt it right away and create a new thought, then your feelings and your actions are going to go with that. Yeah. And that's what creates the result that you don't want. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to interrupt. Yes. 2-for-1 rule. So give me, just restate what an imposter thought is for you, like one that's coming up regularly.
Like, I mean, I think it's just around like, I don't know enough. Like, I never know enough. Like, I don't know enough about like everything, you know?
Good. I don't know enough. So let's say it's about your field, right? Like maybe maybe there's a big client or somebody that you want to maybe enroll, you know, like and work for or something, but I don't know enough. So that's one thought. So for every one thought about why you don't know, can't be, don't have, whatever it is, you need to stop, notice it, and then come up with 2 beliefs to the contrary. You're going to disprove that one thought with 2 thoughts, okay? With 2 statements, with 2 beliefs. And it has to be something you know for sure, right? It's not, you know, I teach like practical manifesting and mindset. It's not just say anything that, you know, if you don't believe it, it does not work.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Let's see if you can come up with this on your own. When you say to yourself, I don't know enough, give me one contrary statement that you know is true.
I mean, I've managed multiple 6-figure launches. So I know enough to manage a successful multiple 6-figure launch.
Great. There's one thought. Give me one more. So,
okay, let me think. I mean, I have 5 years of experience in funnel building, funnel strategy, managing teams, working with 7-figure entrepreneurs. I mean,
how many people have hired you?
Oh, a lot. I mean, dozens. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know enough. Wait a minute. Yes, I do. You know, 100 people have hired me in the last 5 years to do X, Y, and Z. People wouldn't hire me if I didn't know enough. I don't know enough. Yes, I do. I launch, you know, I manage these 6-figure launches for clients. And they come to me because they don't know enough about what I know. Right. So I don't know enough. Wait a minute. Yeah, I know more than, you know, this person. And I see that person is working and hiring clients. And then all of a sudden, the 2-for-1 rule becomes like 3-for-1, 4-for-1. You start piling on the contrary evidence, right? So I don't know enough. And if you just stopped there, then you go on this whole downward spiral of feeling shitty about yourself, which is unfounded because you already have evidence. In your case, you're just looking at the evidence you've already created. Yeah. Even out on the roller derby rink. Yeah. I'm not good enough. Wait a minute. Yes, I am. Like I scored this winning point and I did this and look at how much I've like done in 2 years. And that person who's really good, whatever her name is, when she started, she sucked for, you know, this many years. Like, yes, I am good enough. I keep getting back up. So it's that taking that one thought that makes you feel like an imposter and poking holes in it right away with contrary thoughts. What's landing for you out of that?
I mean, when you said like more, it'll become 3 or 4. Like I'm already like thinking of other pieces of evidence that like are contrary to that. So I can see how just as easily as you can go down the rabbit hole, you can like spiral it up too.
Exactly. And remember, there are enough, maybe not people, but there are enough circumstances in life that are trying to sink your battleship. Don't sink your own battleship, right? Like you keep yourself afloat. One of the things that I've heard before that I think is really helpful, and they do it in NLP too, is if you have trouble, and any of you listening, please use this. If you have trouble applying this to you in the first person, like sometimes people have trouble believing the first person affirmation, say it in the third person, right? So like you are more likely to see how ridiculous your feeling is about yourself if you attribute it to another person.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Like I could see maybe me thinking like what would my friends say about me if I was saying that my limiting belief to like my best friend, like what would she say back to me? Like I could say that to myself.
That's exactly right. And they, know, they talk about this in parenting books too. It's like, would you talk, or when you are a parent, it's like, if you have this negative talk on yourself, what would you say to your child, who was, so it's easy for us to see it from the outside looking in. So if you struggle with it in the first person, try it on as a third person, approach. And that can really work well. Yeah. So I'm going to do a quick scroll through the feed here before we hang up. Does anybody have any questions specifically for Lara? And first of all, I just want to thank you, Lara, because, it takes, first of all, courage, confidence. Believe me, it takes confidence, it takes courage to put yourself out on a live like this and have, expose this. And it helps so many people. So Lynette says, I always feel like I'm not good enough to achieve my goals. Yes, collecting the data and small wins. Oh, look, there's people talking about their sport. Lynette said, I used to play fast the last year. She's 53.
Oh, awesome.
That is super cool. So, oh yeah, cool. Awesome, Sandra. So Sandra was saying like, poking a hole so that it doesn't become your belief. That's something that she wants to use as well. So any final questions or before we log off, any final questions, number one, and then number two, anything that you want to share as a takeaway or encouragement for anyone else?
Yeah, I think the third person thing really struck with me because I have kids too. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like when you look at them, they're like perfect to you, right? And so it's like you're that person too, right? Like I have a mom too, and she probably looks at me, right? And she sees all the good things. So I think like making that shift in my mind will be really, really helpful for me to like when I'm in the moment and I'm feeling like that stuff come up.
And do you feel like you can use that 2-for-1 rule? Like as soon as you have that feeling, come up with the two, whether it's in the first person or in the third person.
Yeah, I actually found recently when I first started my business, when a client would say something nice just to me, not like a testimonial, I would write it down. And I actually found that recently, and I was like, there was a lot of stuff, and I was like blown away. And I was like, I need to start doing that again because I fell off of it at some point, and like it really like boosted me up and was like, wow, I'm badass.
Yeah, you know what? Take all of that. I tell my clients this all the time. Some of them are afraid to even ask for testimonials. And I'm like, listen, ask for testimonials, ask what's working for people, because you need to have evidence that to keep going, right? Like new entrepreneurs, like you need to create evidence. And like you said, even if you've been doing it for 5 years, you need those reminders. Yeah, so take it and throw it up on a wall. Make your board, not an affirmation board, but a testimonial board, right? To remind you, oh, there's more evidence. There's more evidence. So I'm so happy that you have a sport to keep you going. We're all crossing our fingers that we get back into our sport soon. I've had my date canceled and canceled and canceled. I'm like,
I know.
But we got to roll with the punches, right? I say this
We can still train. We can still train.
That's right. And here's something that's really important as a final takeaway in your mindset. If you stop expecting everything to be easy, then when things are a challenge, you're not freaked out, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're going around expecting your life to be hard, but the point of the matter is, listen, nobody's going to get out of life without challenge, triumph, hard times, losses. So if you can build up your mental capacity and strength to be ready to deal with that, then nothing's going to throw you off course, even like what we're going through now. Right? Like we sometimes are way too entitled. We have this feeling of like everything should just be easy. And, everybody wants the 2 or 3 hour workday before they put in the years getting there. And it's like, come on, people, roll your sleeves up. You've got everything that it takes. Get out there, use your greatest gifts, contribute to the world, do what makes you feel lit up and what helps other people, and ride the roller coaster.
Enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Lara, for being here. I really enjoyed this. And if anyone is watching who wants to do hot seat, please send us just a private message here in Facebook, or let me know in the comments, and we'll reach out to you and get you set up. And other than that, Lara, where can people find you? If you're looking for someone who does what Lara does, which is systemize your business, or even just projects where, she'll come in and run a sales funnel for you, or, any of those technical organizational things, I can't say enough great things about Lara. So how can they find you?
You can go to my website at laralassala.com, or I'm on Facebook. I have a business page on my personal profile. So I've been working on my mindset. Like, that's why I wanted to do this. So I just started doing Facebook Live. So
fantastic. So it's laralassala.com, correct?
Yep.
Okay, I'm putting it in the comments section there. Go look for Lara and share something in the comments that was your biggest takeaway, and we'll see you next time here in Coach My Mindset. Thanks.
Bye, Jessica. Thank you so much.
Bye. My pleasure. All right, we're going to hit end here. Let's see.